Hi, this is Nightmare 3464. I'm going to be reading you guys a Jeff the Killer love story. Okay, here we go. Stay with me, Jeff the Killer love story, chapter 1. Come on, you guys, stop being such a wimp. My best friend Tail was yelling at me and Sam. We all stood there in her room discussing our plans for that night. I was unsure about the plan, but I was completely against it. Or disagreeing it with it completely. Sam was shaking like a leaf, very, very against it. I felt bad for her. If Tail wasn't such a being a bitch and just like she does, and want to admit that Sam could just go home. Well, I was left, but of course, Tail always had to drag me along in it. Tail, Sam started playing with her shoulder-length dark red hair. What if there's nothing there? It will be just a waste of our time. Tail glared at her angrily. She was being nervous over nothing. Well, nothing, at least that's what she thought. Stop being so scared, Sam. Of course there's something in there. People wouldn't be hearing noises and screams and stuff if there was nothing to investigate. Tail rocked at Sam. I just stood there with my arms folded and sighing of Tail's plan. You're probably wondering what it is, aren't you? Tail beginning the brave and courage soul and decided to help her hometown by going to the abandoned factory in the woods. Wondering where all the screaming was coming from had been heard and figures had been going in and out of the place. So, gathering around cameras, putting cameras around the perimeter. They were 16-year-old girls going into a dark, spooky old factory. There's something probably dangerous hiding inside. Yeah, Tail was definitely not the brightest one. I'm not saying that I believe whether there's something in there, and I'm just saying using our cameras for no reason. Sam looked down, wanted to see Tail safe, knowing that the only way to make her agree to do it. Tail glared angrily over to her, seeing that there was no way of avoiding it. Tail planned especially that she bent on doing it. I thought about it. I walked over to Sam and laid my hand on her shoulder. She looked at me, her green eyes filled with worry. I gave her a recurring smile. It's okay, Sam. There's probably nothing in there. It's just rumors we've been hearing, and you know how rumors lie. Come on, we'll just hurry, put the cameras around, and then we'll get some ice cream or something. I said in a calming, demanding, even though I wish I could stay back at Tail's house as well. Sam thought about it, unsure of what to do. Then she nodded slowly and smiled at me. She was scared, but I always found a way to bring the brave out of her. Okay, she agreed. Tail grinned and turned. Alrighty then, let's go and get the cameras. With that, I and Sam followed her. Tail and Sam and I stood outside of the large building. It had broken windows, weak walls, adding its creepiness of the statues, and I wondered if it was too late to head back. The cameras rested in my arms, one being mine, the other is my father's, and the last one being my older brother's. The other two held their cameras as well. All our eyes stared up at the badly broken building. Trees around me and the building, slowly as if like it was warning sign, just above the darkened building. It's huge, Sam whispered. Even eyes bigger as usual. I nodded, letting that being my response. Tail glared and turned to both of us. Well, no matter how big it is. Another gulp. We need to do this, to make sure there's nothing in there. She turned away and stepped forward and stood at the steps of the front door. Then she bent down and put her father's camera facing the door. After staring, she turned back to me and Sam. Well, first camera's in place. I guess we better head inside. She head heavily and then faced the building, starting the other 2 cameras in her arms down into the ground and opening the door. Stupid hair. The article displayed that he had dark, long black hair that came shortly to the shoulders. Dark eyes were rounder than normal. He had no eyelids, black circles circling his eyes if his lids were burned off. His skin was bleach white, but what got the worst part was a smile cut into his cheek, making me gasp what this guy poured and still had a horrific smile. I couldn't help but wonder what he looked like now. I scrolled down further and continued reading verbally. He's a killer at large. He holds no morals. He's willing to kill me if he had the chance. I kept watch and made sure to close my door and windows. He had been reported in last week, which has seen in Silent Hill. My heart stopped for a moment, looking at the date of the article. Has been added August 19, yesterday. A killer at large. Oh, how the police flatter me. Jumping to my feet, I rarely turned to the voice that I heard speaking behind me. It was a teenager, male. Sounded rugged than I ever heard. Flashing my flashlight, I quickly clicked the button and pointed in the direction of the voice. I felt numbness as I froze. It was the boy from the picture. His hair was longer, only passing his shoulders. He looked a little bit more built, but still kept a skinny figure. And his face had grown slim. He was gorgeous. Forget the eyes and the smile and the skin and the blood-covered jacket. Wait, what? My dark ocean blue eyes widened at the blood stains on his jacket. They reminded me he was a killer. My eyes went back to his face. I stood there. I had never been so scared in my life. Now I was facing with a psychopath killer. Suddenly I couldn't help but shriek more than I wanted to show. The boy stared at me intensely, with his missing eyelids from keeping him from blinking, as his carved smile widened and noticing my fear. Jeff's point of view. I watched this girl shake, amusing how scared she was of me. She was, how should I put this, cute, hot, and adorable, beautiful. Either way, she was all those, making me smile, my smile widen. I could sense her fear emerging off her as she shivered. Shine that damn flashlight at me. I could look at her perfectly. She had long, flowing silver hair and dark ocean blue eyes that even sparkled with a little amount of light. She had a tan face. Didn't look too good, but she wasn't even wearing makeup on her face. She was, whoa. I wanted her. I wanted her to stay with me. I couldn't let this beauty leave and enter that damn world. No, I won't let her. I saw Jeff's smile widen. I wonder what he was planning to kill me here and right now. Please, don't kill me. I remembered in tears bursting and stormed down my face. Jeff stood there intensely, making me more and more uncomfortable. Then he stood up straight. I beginning to see how tall he was. I was scared. He stepped towards me. Noticing that he was walking toward me, I backed up to see that it was failure as I took a step backwards as I ran into the desk holding the laptop. Even more, I clenched up my eyes and turned my head down, avoiding the frightening gaze. Jeff stopped before me, and noticing that my head went down, he already had a large smile widened slightly as it is. He was so close I could feel his body heat as he lowered his head, covering his forehead. and resting against mine. His pale hand reached and picked up my face and forcing me to lift my head back up. My eyes were still shut tight. I didn't want to see the mail before me, to see my fear. "Open them," he commanded. I glanced up slowly, opening my frightened eyes. I gasped lightly as his face was so close to mine. His lips were inches from meeting mine. My dark ocean blue eyes stared deeply into his. I calmed my shivering a little. He turned his head, studying me slowly. He came, muttering gasp between my lips, and kissed me deeply. My eyes widened as this happened. I never had my first kiss. I never expected to lose it to a murderer. The kiss lasted only for a moment before he pulled back, his lips inches from mine once more. Seeing that he couldn't blink, he watched my face turn into shock and found it quite amusing. He pulled back a little, then resting his forehead to mine, still staring into my ocean blue eyes. I didn't notice that he didn't have his grin. He would have held a look, not shocked, but want. A terrible grin, saying that I was his now. "What is your name?" he asked. It took me a moment to answer him from my surprise. Serena. Serena. He tested on his lips, then nodded. "It's perfect for you." I blinked, remembering Taya and Sam in the cameras. I jerked my head away from him to look at the 3 cameras I brought resting on the computer on the table. Jeff looked as well, staring and the face back to me. He looked at him. "Cameras. So you and your friends were curious about me." He laughed, letting me go, walked over and grabbed one of the cameras. He'd been again examining it. I looked back to the computer. I gasped quickly. It was already 11:49. I'd be dead if I was getting home late again. Seeing no point in the cameras, I wondered what should I do about Jeff. I blinked, realizing if I stay here any longer, who knows what he will do to me. I turned and bolted to the door. Jeff heard my responding of my footsteps and turned and watched as I bolted to the door. He quickly dropped the camera and chased after me. I ran and ran, not looking back. I knew he was following me, and the pace of my mind screaming at me, "Go back!" But I was too afraid and shocked and confused, afraid of him, a murderer, stroked at him, kissing me, of nowhere, and the confusion, and now how I felt about him. I would think about it later. Right now I needed to get home. I ran inside, jumping in joy at the sight of the front door. Out there was Sam and Tara, both looking worried sick. Upon hearing my footsteps, their gaze went from the floor to me. They smiled brightly at me, wide-eyed, when I bolted past outside and towards the town. They looked at each other and they sighed, and they followed off after me. Little do I know that the Karen's boy has watched as I ran off. My friends were close behind me. Jealousy filled him. Jealousy towards my friends. They were getting in his way. He knew it. They were already living with me. Most likely the reason why I had left the way I had. Only, well, he wouldn't have it. And he pulled out his knife from his hoodie's pocket and stroked its blade. A plan formed in his mind, shoving the knife back in his pocket, quickly running out the front door, making sure he has not lost sight of me.